Less exciting news for me than Grubb.
You named a starter. You want to give one?
Deontay Lawson is our starting Mike linebacker. Shocker. Ready to go.
How's he doing, by the way, recovery-wise?
He's actually doing a great job. Deontay is, it's amazing. I mean, I thought, he carried himself at such a professional level a year ago. His leadership was so impressive. And somehow he's taken his game and leadership to another level, which is really impressive, coming off of not only battling, the recovery process that he's kind of stayed ahead of every marker that we've had for him. But to be able to come out in fall camp, and we thought, maybe we would limit some of his loads and all that. We've really pushed him, and he's handled it really well.
Kane, do you count interceptions the same way Coach Grubb does? Only 4 all camp.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I don't know what the exact number is out there, but I think our offense is doing a fantastic job of taking care of the football. It was an emphasis coming out of last season that we had to do a better job as a team taking care of the football and creating takeaways. Certainly, we were able to do that a year ago. They're making it more difficult on us. When the bullets are flying and it's live and you can affect a quarterback, that's always the indication of how we'll do. So I feel good about where we are defensively there.
Coach DeBoer on Saturday talked about early run fits maybe being a little bit of an issue. How do you see the defensive run fits?
I think overall have been really, really solid, really positive, and I think the different variations of run game that we're going to see throughout the season, I think we have spent an obscene amount of time, right, making sure that, different variations of run game that we're ready for and geared up for, that we have answers, right, to those things as well. But in the scrimmage at the beginning there, we had we had a misfit that turned into 2 missed tackles, which is uncharacteristic of us. And we were fortunate enough to be able to get a stop there in the goal line, which is great, but never really should have happened in the first place, right? If we're operating, efficiently in the run game, and so those are things that we've just got to continue to harp on and work. And that same call that we have ran this week, our guys have done a really nice job on. So that's what you want to see.
How would you evaluate the competition at Wolf and United Way?
I think it's a group of guys that. Are all, they're all competing against each other, but they also have a great camaraderie. I think C-Rob does a really good job with that room, kind of a, 3 or 4 musketeers, right? All for one kind of deal, one for all. They do a really good job of supporting each other. Those guys, you can rotate them in. I think they're all improving in the pass game from a standpoint of generating some pass rush, but excited about those guys taking the next step in that regard, and that's going to be critical to us being able to affect the quarterback more consistently than we did a year ago.
Taking a shot in the dark, is there anybody who's changed your perception of them since camp started?
I think off the top of my head, Deshaun Jones was a little bit banged up in the springtime. He's taken some great strides. Jordan Renaud just continues to grow and improve. So really, really pleased with him. And then some of those young defensive linemen are really taking steps in the right direction. Both Freddie Roach and Jamie Mosley, those guys have done a good job. Asai Faga is doing a really good job. You're seeing some things from London Simmons is improving. Steve is improving. So it's nice to see some guys that, maybe you thought might be a little ways away that might have a role for us at some point, here during the season. So that's encouraging.
I know it's not something that you probably watch closely all the time, but what have you seen out of Tyson?
Yeah. I think as a defensive coordinator, right, your job is to kind of be an expert, right, on offenses and what we're doing and how they're attacking us. And like Ty just does such a great job of his command of the offense right now. He understands what Ryan and what Nick are trying to get done out of the quarterback position and what we're trying to do offensively. He gets us into the right calls. He keeps us out of bad calls for the most part, and then does a really nice job of just taking care of the football. And the dude makes plays. So, take care of the football, make good decisions, make plays when it matters. That's, to me, the element of a quarterback. But when I watch him go through progressions, he has a great feel for boom, 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 and he stays on schedule, and that's always, gonna make you efficient offensively.
Is it pretty clear that, you know, he's been around a while, like that he knows this team, knows this offense?
I would think him, you know, there are probably a number of guys on our football team, you can see the value of them in year 2, right? So offensively, defensively, certainly at the quarterback position, how comfortable they are in the system. You know, you see a difference, you know, from where we were a year ago.
Speaking of differences, how different is Xavier Brown going into year 2?
Yeah, that's a great question because, you know, ZB was a guy that came in as a freshman and he made certain freshman mistakes, but he handled them like a veteran, right? And so it was really impressive to see the way that he would make a mistake and then get it fixed and you wouldn't see that mistake, right? He was able to just sustain the correction as we talk about on defense. This year, he's now playing with anticipation, you know, so he's making plays on the ball. He understands, you know, route progressions. He understands how to take certain things away and then go drive the ball in other places. You know, that he's probably one of the most fun people I've ever coached. I mean, from a standpoint of just how locked in, how detailed, how professionally he is every day. I mean, that dude, in my mind, will play this game for a long time.
Speaking of Ty Simpson, your first job was UT Martin quarterbacks coach.
Yeah.
I think you would have been in elementary school around then. What do
Yeah.
you remember? Was he around at all? Like, what stands out?
I mean, I remember at 5 years old, I said, this dude will be the starting quarterback at one point. You know, that was a real fun experience for me. I got my first 2 years, I was an offensive line GA for Chris Kapelovic, and then went as a quarterbacks coach for Jason Simpson. And really, I was more like the assistant quarterback coach because Jason ran the quarterback room and was the offensive coordinator as the head coach. And so I learned so much from him. And then, you know, Ty just always had a ball in his hand, right? Was always around the team. Jason did a great job of involving his family around. The year I was there, Graham, their youngest, who's named after Graham Stadium there, was born, and so Jason and Julie were really good to Melissa and I.
What are you seeing out of Cam Calhoun, and where do you see him kind of fitting in through fall
Yeah,
camp?
well, Cam's got a really versatile skill set, so I mean, you know, he's doing some things corner-wise for us. He's doing some things at the Husky nickel position. You know, Cam's got, I think I mentioned this before, you know, he plays the game with great energy. You know what I mean? You got to have guys like that. We're relatively quiet in the secondary for the most part, but I think there's a number of guys, or at least a year ago we were. I think there's a number of guys that, you know, they bring a little bit of swagger, and sometimes you need that, which is really good. And he's certainly one that I can point to that brings juice and energy every day.
When you think about this time a year ago, where do you feel like you've grown the most as the defensive coordinator, and where is that confidence now?
Yeah. Well, I understand our players much better, and I understand the league a lot better, right? I think probably the biggest thing is you go into the offseason knowing the answers, not the answers to the test, right, but you at least have the study guide, you know what I mean, a little bit better than you did in year one. And so having anticipation for what we're going to see, having an understanding of what our players do well and how to feature those players has allowed me to be really aggressive in our install in year 2. So spring ball, we were like that, and then certainly in fall camp, I mean, we have just layered on layered on layered, you know, the scheme for them, and they're doing a good job of handling it.
What have you seen in the 3 young inside linebackers, Luke, Duke, and Abdul?
Yeah, swimming, struggling. I mean, in a good way. I mean, if you're going to do this at a high level from a linebacker standpoint, you have to embrace the hard times, right? There's just so much we ask those guys to do in terms of running the defense, and so they have to kind of go and press through these things, and it's going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then it's going to be 1 step forward and 2 steps back for a little while. I told those guys this morning they just have to keep pushing, and the guys that I think, you know, I've seen a lot of linebackers go through and then play at a very high level, the ones that just know they're going to play each snap like it's the most important play and just focus on each snap. You do it over and over again, and all of a sudden it just clicks. But it hadn't clicked yet, so they're grinding right now.
It was a lot, or had a lot of responsibilities at the high school level, on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you see him kind of, you know, when you're kind of focusing in on what he needs to do for your defense? Like, is he kind of adapting to that well? Like, how is he kind of, instead of a lot of responsibility, kind of honing in on one?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, those guys have a lot of responsibility within the defense, but at the same time, positionally, he's very inexperienced as a linebacker, right? So there's a transition that takes. We had a guy at Indiana, Cam Jones, playing for the Chiefs right now. Cam came in, didn't really have any experience as a linebacker, and that was a process. And then he turned himself into an all-conference player, and then got drafted, and so on and so forth, right? So that process of taking an athlete and developing them into a linebacker is something that we've always taken pride in our system. I've been able to evaluate guys and then project and then develop them, but it most certainly is a process that he's going through.
As we move towards having, I guess, harder roster limits in college football, do guys like that, like who did a bunch of stuff in high school, played multiple positions, does that become more of a plus when you're recruiting?
You're saying just from a roster, like you're saying because there's fewer guys on the roster and all that. Position versatility is critical, and it always has been. But I would say, when the numbers go down, right, those things are always going to matter. You look at the NFL. Those guys that are the 2s or 1.5s or whatever you want to say, right? Their ability to play multiple positions is critical as well. We believe in putting athletes on the field, right? So athletic people that can make plays in space can do multiple things for you, and so we're going to recruit to that. If there's been an indicator of like what we do right now from long people, right, that can make space tackles, though that is the mold of what we're looking for in the recruiting area, and I think we're doing that right now at I would argue a pretty high level. So,
All right, thank you.
thanks,
Coach.
guys.
Thank
Roll
you.
Tide.
Appreciate it.